Okay, Shabbat Shalom. This is Hakham Melech and Yaakov, and welcome to this week's Karaite Torah study. Sorry, I just have to send one more message out to someone who might want to join us. Let's see how we're going to do this. Just give me a second. Enjoy the music movie. Okay, so we are in Parashat Chayei Sarah. This is Genesis 23, basically Genesis 23 through Genesis 25. And let's see if we can make some sense of it. So here we go. I'm going to stop the video. Let me stop that. Let me stop that. Let me start this. And we should be good to go. Okay, so here we are. So it's Parashat Chayei Sarah. This is the World Alliance of Qara'im weekly Karaite Torah study. And we'll dig in, starting in Genesis 23. So we've got Genesis 23. As usual, I'll be reading Hebrew with commentary. My own commentary or looking at other scholars' awareness. And off we go. Make this a little bit bigger. So it's easier. Okay, that's fine. All right, we're in Genesis 22, chapter 23:1. وَيْهِيُّ Chayei Sarah mi'ah shona wa sarim shona wa shim shnei Sarah. So, and the life of Sarah was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. So the rabbis they like to say about this. Let's check out Rash on this one. Sorry, Rashi. And I think we're going to get a famous comment there. Genesis. No, I don't want that. Rash. Is Rash. There we go. Genesis 23. As you can tell, I have no respect for this guy whatsoever. Actually, he doesn't even have. Oh, that is. Oops. Oh. Genesis 3:1. So I'll just English just to save time. The reason the word shana is written at every turn. Let's highlight this in. Let's tell you each term must speak by itself. At the age of 100, she was a woman of 20, as regarded, for just as at the age of 21, may regard her as having never sinned since blah, blah, blah. Right? So we got it. The word years is repeated and without a number to indicate they were all equally good, blah, 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 blah. So what is the reason that it doesn't just say Mea Asrim, right? It's 127 years, but it says these were the this was the life, or this was the life of Sarah, 100 years and 20 years and 7 years, the years of the life of Sarah. Well, first of all, this is the words counted in the Torah. Number one. If we want to a little bit more stretch normal, then we say that this is kind of indicating honor towards her, or indicating importance towards her, indicating towards her. Usually repetition, flowery language. It means usually emphasis, pointing something out, honor, respect. So with other numbers, it's really not. But if you do want to say it's stretched out, right, 100 years and 20 years, then it's just to give her honor, the honor that she deserves, as ended. Okay, verse 2. And let's see what Alter has to say about that one. Alrighty. So we go to Genesis 23. Genesis 23. The Hebrews still more extravagant. The Hebrews more extravagant use of repetition, usually repeat year after 100, after 20, and after 7. The same divisive stylistic emphasis is used in the obituary notices of Abraham and Ishmael. Okay. أربعة هي حبرون and Yo have Raham. Okay, so she died here Arba. This is Hebron. We know that Hebron, this was the plot, or this was the place it was going to purchase the Ma'arat, the Ma'ara Asher Sadeh Machpelah. It's usually called the cave of Machpelah, but that's not what it's called here, as we shall see. Okay, the older name of the town means city of four. I'll just read this. The older name of the town means city of four, perhaps a reference to it being a federation. A possible meaning of Hebron. Alternatively, the name might refer to four hills, but some scholars think the earlier name is a Hebraization of an unsemitic name, which would have been given to the town by its Hittite inhabitants. And we'll talk about the Hittites in a second. Okay. ويقام أبراهام معال ميثو. Abraham arose from whole if comes from story. I'm not sure. When David 7 days and the baby dies, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Shiva Judaism. They have a hit. Biblical Shiva. A number of biblical accounts describing mourning for fixed periods in several cases after the death of his son Joseph in the 7-day mourning period. Oh, really? I thought, okay. Memory escaping on that. That is Genesis 15. The period of in the book of Job. Job mourned his misfortune for 7 days. Okay, so let's look at Genesis 50:10, just for the heck of it. So 50:10, this is when Jacob dies. We'll start in 7. Let's read through very quickly. ויעל יוסף לקבור את אביו, ויעלו איתו כל עבדי פרעה, זקני ביתו וכל זקני ארץ מצרים, וכל, verse 8, וכל בית יוסף, and I'm not doing it in my attempted perfect biblical Hebrew, my attempted good biblical Hebrew, which I'm constantly improving, but I'm just going to read it quickly. ואחיו ובית אביו רק טפם וצנעם בקרם עזבו בארץ גושם. ויעלימו, verse 9, גם רכב גם פרשים, ויהי המחנה כבד מאוד, ויבוא עד גורן עתד, אשר בעבר ירדן, ויספדו שם מספד גדול וכבד מאוד, ויעש לאביו אבל 7 ימים. So here we go. So verse 10 says, they came. So this is basically the entourage, Yosef and his entourage. So they came, Yavo ad Goren, Atad. They came to the threshing floor of the Atad. I guess it's maybe a proper name, Atad. Asher Ba'ever Yarden, which is on the other side of the Jordan. Interesting anachronism there, which we're not going to get into right now. Vayisbedu Sham Misped Gadol, and they held a great mourning ceremony there. In modern Hebrew, misped is a eulogy, but it really means more like a mourning ceremony. Let's see the translated here as lamentation. Kaved ma'od, a very great and solemn mourning ceremony. Yas la'aviv avid shivat yamim, and he mourned for his father for 7 days. Literally, he did for his father, to his father, a mourning of 7 days. Okay, so there we go. Okie dokie. Anything that for an hour, I gotta redo this one. Anything that Dr. Hertz has to say? Let's see if he's able to do it. Okay. Got to go down. Oh my. Okay, 20. Let's try. Hello. Genesis 10. Genesis 30. Oh, shut the landing pad a little bit. Genesis 27. Genesis 26. Genesis 24. So we can go back like this. Genesis 24. Genesis 24. Genesis 23. Now it has some kind of weird system that I have to follow here. So let's just see how this works. Genesis 23. Okay, 107 and 20 years. I can't highlight here, so you're just going to have to follow along. We're in the upper left corner. Literally 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. And since the word years inserted after each figure, the rabbi's comment, she was as, yeah, right. That was Rashi's, okay. Kiryat Arba, the city of 4, in Judges 1:10, it is stated that Kiryat Arba was the old name of Hebron, and in that city the Israelites slew three great chieftains, the son of a man named Arba. See Joshua 15:13. Hence, the city was named after Arba, or it signified the city of these 4 giants. Okay. And to mourn, the Hebrew word indicates the loud wailing still usual in the East as a manifestation of grief. Okie dokie. There you go. Okay, so okay. We debated Benehet Lemor. So these are the children of Het, or the Hittites. And we'll talk about them in a second. Okay, Ger we to shav Anochi qi mochem tenu li ahzat qaber qi mochem wa bara meti milit fanai. Okay, so ger v'toshav. Now this is an interesting phrase. This occurs many times, and the rabbis have taken the audacity to use this phrase ger v'toshav and say basically that there are two types of ger. There's ger toshav and there's ger tzedek. We're not going to get into that right now. That requires an entire study, in fact, an entire book. But we just see here, just note, mental note, ger v'toshav is a common phrase. Okay, ger is sojourner, a temporary journer. A toshav is kind of a temporary citizen. Okay, but they're essentially kind of synonymous, although toshav, as we could see in later contexts, has a sense of even more of a temporary kind of connotation than ger. Okay, so basically he's saying, I'm just a stranger here. I'm a stranger in a strange land. Oh, I got a huggle. That's nice. I get a little Care Bear. Shabbat Shalom, Raven. Ravencraft. Sounds dangerous. Okay, so right. So I'm a nobody here. I'm just a stranger, right? I'm a stranger in a strange land. Anochi imachem, am I among you or with you? Tenuli ahuzat kever. Give me a ahuzat. Literally comes from the word ahaz, which means a grip, to grasp. So it means like it's usually translated as a plot of land. In this case, it would be a plot of land for burial. Oops. Yeah, a burial holding. That's a good translation. I like it. It never disappoints. Okay, a burial holding, right? So ahaz is to grab onto or to hold, right? So holding, yeah, I like that translation. Like the burial plot, but basically as something that is mine, right? Ayimachem, among you, wa akbara miti milefanai, and let me bury my dead from before me, right? So the idea there is quite clear, that until I bury my dead, then it's like, she's just sitting there before my eyes, and the only way I can get past this, the only way I can move past this and let her have her rest and let me begin to have my rest, my peace of mind in life, is to bury her from before me, literally, from milefanai. The underlying root there is panim, or pan, which means face, so before my face, right, would maybe even be a better translation. So just let me, I need to move on here, begin to move on. And I can't do that as long as I can't bury my dead. That's what Abraham's plea is. And I'm just, he kind of plays the, I don't mean in a deceitful way, it's the truth. He kind of plays, the pity card, right? I'm just a ger v'toshav anochi imachem. I'm just I'm a sojourner and a temporary resident. I'm just a stranger among you. So Ya'anu b'nei Hayt et Avraham lemor lo. So the children of Hayt answered Avraham and said to him. So we have to talk a little bit about who are these b'nei Hayt. So it's usually translated as the Hittites, and Robert Alter here has a commentary. So whether these are actually Hittites who have migrated from Anatolia into Canaan, or a loose Hebrew designation for non-Semite Canaanites, is unclear. Right. So there's this idea, well, it's not this idea, there was a people called the Hittites in southern Turkey. I have a friend who is kind of an expert in them by now, but he's not here, so he can't add anything to it. At least I don't think he's here. But if he were, he'd probably have a lot to say about the Hittites. But that's okay, because we have a Rabbi Wikipedia. And I'm not going to read about the whole thing, but just very briefly. What do we got here? Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that. Just close some stuff up. I don't need both of these open, and I certainly don't need this open. And this can get closed right now. And these are just Wikipedia articles, so they can get closed. And we can go here, and we can Hittites. All right. So just very briefly, we'll just read the first paragraph or two. And then we can even look at biblical Hittites. The Hittites were an Anatolian people, meaning Turkey. Right, there you go. There's the map. So, oh boy, we got a moving map. Oh, that's for Anatolians. Okay. who played an important role in establishing first the kingdom in Kusara. So where's Kusara? Somewhere in Turkey. Before 1750 BC, and then Kanesh, or Nesha kingdom. The next, an empire centered on Hattusa, and that's the famous city that they've excavated in north-central Anatolia around 1650 BC. This empire reached its height during the mid-14th century. At any rate, they're famous for, here we go. The Hittite language was a distinct member of the Anatolian branch of the Indo-European language family. So, and here we go. The Hittite is the oldest historically attested Indo-European language, referred to by its speakers as Nisili, the language of Nessa, on and on and on. Let's just look very briefly about the biblical Hittites. So that's what they're famous for. They're in southern Turkey, and they are known for being the earliest, or having the earliest, Indo-European language. Biblical Hittites. The Hittites, also spelled Hittites, were a group of people mentioned in the Hebrew Bible under the names Bnei Het, children of Het, who was the son of Canaan, and Hatti. They are described several times as living in or near Canaan between the time of Abraham and the time of Ezra, after the return of the Jews from the Babylonian exile. Their ancestor was Het, who is mentioned in Genesis 10:5. Het is, according to Genesis 10:15, the second son of Canaan, son of Ham, son of Noah. So grandson of Noah, son of Canaan. Het is the ancestor of the Hittites, second of the 12 Canaanite nations derived from the sons, blah, blah, blah. In the late 19th century, the biblical Hittites were identified with a newly discovered Indo-European speaking empire of Anatolia, a major regional power through most of the second millennium BC, who therefore came to be known as the Hittites. The nomenclature is used today as a matter of convention, regardless of debates about possible identities between the Anatolian Hittite Empire and the biblical Hittites. So let's just read maybe this. So the point is that it's a big question as to whether the Hittites that are being referred to here in Genesis 23 are the same as the Hittites, this Hittite kingdom that was discovered in southern Anatolia. So, just to read a little bit more. According to Genesis, the Hittite Ephron, so well, we know this. In the book of Joshua 1:4, when the Lord tells Joshua, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even until the great river, the river of Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea, toward the going down of the sun, shall be your border. This land of the Hittites on Canaan's borders, seen to stretch from between Lebanon and the Euphrates, and from there towards the setting sun. Okay, which would place it in Anatolia, basically. According to the book of Judges 1:26, they allowed one man to escape, and he went to the land of the Hittites, where he founded the settlement of Luz. King Solomon's era, the Hittites are depicted in the Old Testament along with Syria as among his powerful neighbors. From around 1900, archaeologists were aware of a country established in Anatolia and known to the Syrians as Hatti, because it was initially assumed that the people of Hatti were identical to the Heti of the Hebrew Bible. The term Hittite Empire is still used today to describe the Anatolian state. Their language is known to have been a member of the Indo-European family because its speakers were originally based in Kanesh. They called their language Nishili. The former inhabitants of Hatti and Hattusis are now called Hattites, and their Hattic language was not Indo-European, but is of unknown linguistic relationship. So let's just read this. Some scholars take the view that the two peoples, meaning the Hittites that were found in southern Anatolia and the Hittites mentioned in the Tanakh, are identical apart from the similarity in the names. The Anatolian Hittites were a powerful political entity in the region before the collapse of their empire, blah, blah, blah. And so one would expect them to be mentioned in the Bible. Moreover, in the account of the conquest of Canaan, the Hittites are said to dwell in the mountains and towards the north of Canaan, a description that matches the general description in geography of the original Hittite Empire, which had been influential in the region prior to the Battle of Kadesh. Modern academics propose, based on much onomastic, which I have no idea what that means, Onomastics is the study of etymology, history, and the use of proper names, and orthonym is the proper name. Okay. And archaeological evidence that the Anatolian populations moved south into Canaan as part of the waves of sea peoples who were migrating along. So the sea peoples include the Philistines, migrating along the Mediterranean coastline at the time of the collapse of the Hittite Empire. Many kings of local city-states are shown to have had Hittite and Luwian names in the late Bronze to early Iron Age transition period. Indeed, even the name of Mount Zion may be Hittite in origin. And last one. Because of the perceived discrepancy, so this is a case for separation, that these are not the same two peoples. Because of the perceived discrepancy between the picture of the Hittites as developed in the Bible and the archaeological discoveries, some biblical scholars reject Archibald Sayce's identification of the two peoples and believe that the similarity in names is only coincidence. For example, E.A. Spicer, referring to the children of Heth in the book of Genesis, writes, for reasons of both history and geography, it is most unlikely that this group name has any direct connection either with the Hattians of Anatolia or with their Hittite successors. Okay. Alrighty, so maybe they're the same Hittites, maybe they're not. But at this point, they lived in the Bnei Het lived in Hebron, which was formerly Kiryat Arba. Okay. Yanu Bnei Het et Avraham lemor lo. So they answered. So the children of Het, the Hittites, the biblical Hittites answered. Verse 6, Genesis 23:6. Shi'm aynu Adoni Nisi Elohim Ata Bittochenu Ba Mivhar Kivarenu Kagabor Et Mitecha Ish Mimenu Et Kivro Lo So basically, to paraphrase, they say, well, Nasi Elohim ata, you are a prince of God. You're known as basically being, one of God's prophets. Sidekicks is the wrong word. God has sidekicks. But one of God's chosen or preferred people. And nobody's going to hold back any burial plot from you. So that's the answer. No problem. Wherever you want, you can bury. Wa yaqam Avraham wa yishtahu le'am ha'aras livnei Het. And Abraham bowed down before them. Okay, so bowing down is very common throughout the Tanakh, very common in ancient times. It's a show of respect. I'm not even sure that it's a show of submission, maybe to a certain degree, but it's certainly a show of respect. So Abraham wants to show his respect for their offer, that nobody's going to withhold their burial site. Let's get a Robert Alter on that one, just for a little variety. All right, so verse 4, sojourning settler, grant me a burial holding. The Hebrew, which reads literally sojourner and settler, is a legal term that means resident alien. That's right. Exactly. But the bureaucratic coloration of that English equivalent misrepresents the stylistic decorum of the Hebrew. Ger v'toshav, okay? At the very beginning of Abraham's speech, he announces his vulnerable legal status. That's what we said. He's kind of playing the, immigrant card. A hard fact of institutional reality, which stands in ironic tension with his inward consciousness that the whole land has been promised to him and his seed. That's a nice point. Grant. Literally give is a poignantly ambitious both here and in the subsequent exchange with Ephron. Abraham avoids the frank term sell, yet speaks of acquiring a holding, a huzah word that clearly indicates permanent legal possession. So grant, that's verse 4. Let's see what it says in verse 4. Oops. Verse 4. Tnuli, give me, grant me. Okay. So he's saying Abraham doesn't say sell, he says give. Alrighty. Verse 6. Pray. So what are we talking about here? Let me just get to the same page. So this is 290. Oh. Pray, hear us, my Lord. So that's the beginning of verse 6, which is the translation here of Shema'ini, Shema'inu, Adoni Nasi Elohim, okay? I'm not sure why, okay? The translation follows E.A. Spicer, as well as the ancient Aramaic version of Yonatan ben Uziel, in reading Lu, for lo, to him. So let's take a look at that again. This is verse 6. What is he talking about? In verse 5. Okay, interesting. Got it. They're talking about this word here, lo. It's kind of a pretty technical point. Let's just move on. You are Prince of God among us. In the pick of our graves, bury your dead. On the surface, this is a courtly gesture of extravagant generosity, but as Sternberg, 1991, who provides an accurate, acute reading of the sinuous turns of the subsurface bargaining nicely shows, there is an ambiguity of intention here, a certain exaggeration. In calling Abraham a prince of God, which could simply mean preeminent dignitary among us, he had claimed to be only with them, and a poignant deletion of any reference to holding or to transfer property. Okay, interesting. So let's move on. Okay. We're up to verse 8. Anything here on verse 7? No. Verse 8. וידבר איתם לאמור איש אם יש את נפשכם לקבור את מתי מלפני שמעוני ופגעו לי בעפרון בן צחר. Again, still trying to work out the kinks and constantly reviving my attempted pronunciations of biblical Hebrew, so bear with me. Okay, so basically, yeah, you can do me if you really want to help me out here. Lifgoa means, to translate is, it's like to nudge in modern Hebrew. Lifgoa means to, basically to, like, how would you say it in English again? Like to hurt, almost, to assault. But in biblical Hebrew, it means like to ping. Yeah, it's actually a good translation. I like that. It's a very modern translation. Shim'oni upigu ping Ephron ben Zohar for me. All right, I'll have to keep that in mind as a good translation. Ping him. It's like a, nudge him for me. How do they translate it here? Meet. That's a weird translation. All right. Let's see how Robert Alter does that one. Entreat for me. And Everett Fox does, let's try 60. Whoa. Overshot the landing pad. 40. Whoa. That's not right. 40. 30. 30. One more time. 30. Genesis 27. Close enough. So Genesis 23. 22, 23. Hear me interpose. Interpose. So here we have interpose. Robert Alter does entreat. I'm doing ping. Annoy. See how the BDB translates. Meet, encounter, reach. BDB says meet, encounter, reach. Meet, light upon. Encounter with hostility. Encounter with request. Entreat. Strike, touch of boundary. Nudge. Maybe nudge or ping would be a good, nice modern translation. All right, we'll go with nudge or ping. Oh, do me a favor. Can you nudge Efron and Zohar for me? Oi, danke, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so it's an imitation of my Hasidic friend back, one of my Hasidic friends back in Brooklyn. Okay, so all right, Waitin et why yitin. So now Abraham is in all seriousness here because this is a serious subject. He's burying his dead wife. So basically, he's asking the children of Chet to speak to Ephron. Why yitin? Why yitin? Yitin li et mi aret ha 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 mach bela. Let him give me the cave of Machpelah. Asher lo, asher biqse sadehu. So give me the cave of Machpelah, which is in the edge of his field. B'chesef male yitneno li b'tochachem la'ahuzat chover. So give me this marat, this cave of Machpelah, which is at the end of his field, and I will pay for it with full money. Verse 10. And here goes the negotiations. Wa we ayafron yoshev b'thoch b'nei hayt. We wa ya'an ayafron ha hayti et avraham b'oznei b'nei hayt. L'chol ba'e sha'ar ayro lemor. So Ephron was sitting in the dwelled among the children of Chet, among the Hittites, the biblical Hittites. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of all the children of Chet, to all those who came into those who passed through, came into the gate of a city. So gate of the city, we've said many, many, many times over many, many years that's where all the action took place, right? Right by the gate is where you had the market. That's where you had the sitting of the elders, court, reading of public readings, and on and on and on, right? Like in the famous Eshet Chayil. Proverbs. One. Where do we go? So Proverbs 31:23, speaking about the woman of valor, that's usually translated as Noda b'sha'arim ba'ala b'shifto ima zikpanei ares. So her husband is known in the gates because as he sits with the elders of the land, known in the gates. What does that mean, known in the gates? It's exactly as we said, this is where the elders would meet, right? The elders would hold their council. Maybe the elders were also the judges of the city, right? This is where the judges would meet. We can see that explicitly in Deuteronomy 17. But, well, maybe look at that for a second. Right? So the gate of the city is where all the action took place. And that makes sense, right? I mean, I don't know. Let's say you're in a modern city, right? There are certain central areas where people are going to pass by. I don't know, in New York, Times Square or something like that. But in the old days, if you had to, go somewhere in and out of the city, you're going to pass through the gate. Okay? And so that really became like the city center, the gate. And there was usually a big kind of plaza once you walked in the gate. Deuteronomy 17. So this is speaking about cases that cannot be solved where? Bisha'arecha, in your gates. So if you can't solve the problem internally within, by the elders or the judges that are sitting at the gates of the city, meaning basically the local courts, shall we say, then this contrast, and this contrast between Bisharecha, your gates, and Elamakom Asher Yivhar Yahuwah Elohecha Bo, and the place which Yahweh shall choose, these are often contrasted to each other in a number of places. I'm not going to get into the whole thing right here. For instance, in slaughtering meat, we have the same contrast. Okay, so but these two are in contrast to each other. Bisharecha means locally, in your local city, but it says literally in your gates. Right? Again, the gate is where these court cases that I'm speaking about here would have been solved. So if it can't be done in your gates, then you go up to the place that God chooses, which ultimately was Jerusalem. Okay, and then you go to the Kohen, the Levite, or the judge there. All right, so gate. So getting back to our verse here, Ephron yoshev b'toch b'nei Chayei, blah blah blah. Nechol ba'eshar iro. So he said. So Ephron answered to all those who were passing through the gate, meaning he said it in public, right? There were witnesses. He said this publicly. This was a public statement for everybody to hear, and therefore for everybody to act as witnesses. Okay. So what did he say to Abraham? Okay, and what does Robert Alter say about this? Legal business was conducted in the gateway. The men assembled there constitute as a spies who proposes a kind of town council. Exactly. And these two phrases in apposition are a legal formula. Scholarship has abundantly observed that the actual language used by Ephron and Abraham and the narrator bristles with set terms familiar from other ancient Near Eastern documents for the conveyance of property. That's a whole other story in and of itself. So what did Ephron say? Lo Adoni, Shi Ma'ayni, He Sodeh, Natati, Lach, We He Mi Ara Asher Bo, Licha, Ni Tatiha, Le'ainei B'nei Rami, Ni Tatiha, Lach, Kivor Metecha. So then Ephron plays the nice guy, he plays the gracious person. He doesn't want to sound like a beep, fill in your favorite word there. He doesn't want to sound like a jerk. And what is he going to do? Abraham is offering to pay for this burial plot, and Ephron is certainly not going to sound like he's going to take advantage of Abraham, who just wants to bury his dead, right? So he offers Abraham the place for free, pretends to offer Abraham the place for free, which we see, of course, is not what he's really doing. But he makes the gracious offer. It's like when you go out to, dinner with somebody and they offer to pay the check, or you offer to pay the check, and you're really thinking, I don't really want to pay this guy's check. I want him to pay my check, but I have to offer. If you guys are Honeymooners fans, then there's a famous, just for the heck of it. I doubt I will, but you never know. Let's see. I just got to play it because I'm such a Honeymooners fan. I have been since I'm a child. So, whoa. There's... Honeymooners. Offers. Check. We'll get lucky. Okay, here we go. All right, enjoy. One of my favorite shows of all times. Okay, well, you all get the idea. At any rate, one of my favorite shows of all times. My favorite show of all times, without a doubt. So Ephron is gonna play the gracious host. He's gonna play, take the high road, and he's gonna offer to give Abraham the field and the cave for free. وَيِشْتَحُوهُ. Where's Lavi? Where's Google?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I'll try to look.
Yeah, it's 5:30. You can get him back. Okay. وَيِشْتَحُوهُ Abraham لِفْنِي عَمْ هَأَرِسْ. So Abraham bowed down again. So this is the second time bowing down. Verses 13 and 14. Genesis 23:13. وَيِدَبَرْ عفرون بأذنه هأرس لمور أخ إم تا لو شي معيني نتاتي كسف الصدى قخ ميماني وعق برا اتمتي شاما. So basically, Abraham's saying, no, that's very nice of you. Again, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. That's really nice of you, but, here. Natati kesef hasadeh. Oh, shoot. I will give money for the field. Kach mimeni, take it from me, v'akbarat miti shama, and let me bury my dead there. Ya'an Ephron et Avraham lemor lo, and Ephron answered. So basically, Abraham is rejecting the offer, right? He doesn't want it for free. He wants to buy it, and the reason he wants to buy it is quite obvious. When you buy something, it's yours, okay? If somebody gives it to you for free, then your ownership over it is less established, is more dubious, right? And Abraham doesn't want that. He wants to pay for it. It's his. Nobody can question it. There's an exchange here, and he doesn't want anything else but that. So he rejects Ephron's fake offer. As we'll see, it was fake. And so then Ephron answers. I feel like I'm back in the Arab shuk in the old city. Verse 15. Adoni shim aini eretz arba'a mi'ot shekel kesef bini ubincha mahi wa'ef mitcha vor. So Ephron says, again, still trying to pretend to take the high road, but he says, my Lord, again, this fake kind of, interaction. I mean, it's, oh God, if you've ever been in the Arab shuk in the old city, gosh, this will sound very familiar. So this, so he's calling him my Lord, everyone's calling each other my Lord. They're bowing down before each other, right? And I mean, of course, Abraham's not the fake one. Of course, Ephron. What's up? You found Lavi?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna fix it now.
All right, fine. Adoni Shema'eni, so he calls him, he says, okay, let's just translate it, right? My Lord, listen to me. Eretz Arba Mot Shakel Kesef Beni Ubencha Mahi. Land worth 400 shekels, and a shekel is a specific weight. So 400, they usually translate as a talent, okay? So 400 talents, 400 blocks of silver. Between me and you, what is it? What meant for? Just bury your dead. So what he's basically saying is, listen, it's only worth 400 shekels, 400 talents of silver. Don't worry about it. Just bury your dead. But what he's really doing, of course, sneakily, he's mentioning the price that he wants. Okay, so it's all BS from the get-go, right? And Avram knows it, and of course, Avram wants to purchase the land. Avram is very wealthy at this point. Wa yishmar Avraham el Ephron. Wa yishkol Avraham le Ephron et kesef asher diber be'oznei b'nei het 400 shekel kesef over la saher. So Abraham heard Ephron, or listened to Ephron, or understood what Ephron was getting at. And Abraham weighed out the money, the 400 shekels, which he had spoken, in other words, which Ephron had spoken. And remember, Ephron is doing this publicly, right? This is all a very public transaction. That's the way, I don't know if they had, well, I guess they kind of had deeds, that were registered at this time. Not on paper, I guess. I don't know if papyrus at this time for sure had not spread to the Middle East. I guess it was on clay tablets, or maybe written on skins. At any rate, but this was the way of, cementing any kind of transaction, including, as we see in the case of Ruth, which is of course many, many hundreds of years later, actually over 1,000 years later, approximately. This was also done, right? The Boaz acquires Ruth at the gate of the city, right? In a public transaction. So this is the way that things were verified. They were done before witnesses, right? There were no records kept, or if there were, they weren't very extensive, right? There were no file cabinets, no paper. I don't think paper was used, as it said, in the Middle East at this time. So it was done by saying things publicly before witnesses, and that served, to verify the transaction. The witnesses were everything, and that's why witnesses play such a big role in the Torah in general. Okay, so Abraham weighs out the 400 shekels that Ephron had spoken about and he does it right there in the gate of the city, right? Over l'socher. No, this is always a tough one to translate. Let's get some interesting translates. Translations, usually it's translated as something like a legal tender or something along those lines. Let's see what Robert Alter does with that one. So this is verse 16. Well, let's just go back to 15 here. So a comparison with the prices stipulated for the purchase of property elsewhere in the Bible suggests that this pittance is actually a king's ransom. Abraham, having whatevered his readiness to pay the full price, is in no position to object to the extortionate rate. Can you please do that elsewhere? That noise is it's bothering me. Is in no position to object to the extortionate rate. In fact, his only real bargaining aim has been to make a legitimate purchase, and he's unwilling to haggle over the price, just as he refused to accept booty from the king of Salem. Perhaps Ephron refers to the property as land, eretz, instead of sadeh, in order to provide rhetorical mitigation for the huge sum, intimating by way of a term that also means country that Abraham is free to imagine he's getting more than a field with a burial cave for his money. That's speculation. Verse 16, heated. But it is the same verb to hear, repeatedly used at the beginning of the bargaining speeches. Weighed out, 400 silver shekels. The transaction antedates the use of coins, and the silver is divided into weights, the literal meaning of shekel. Okay. Alrighty. So what are we up to? So we want to know how he translates verse 16. Over l'shlocher, sofer. At the merchant's tried weight. Okay. Volky, you left that crack open, and it's letting all the cold air in. Okay. So, and he doesn't explain what he means by the merchant's tried weight. I don't think. Okay. Everett Fox, what does he do with that one? 16 at the going merchant's rate. Okay. Same idea. Over l'socher literally means over is to, transact, or that which crosses the same root as ivri, as Hebrew. So that which can be transacted or given or paid over to. La socher, socher is a merchant. Oops, I clicked on that by mistake. All right. Verse 17. ويقام عفرون شر مخ بيلان أشير لفني ممري ها صدى ومئرا أشير بو وحول حائس أشير صدى أشير لخول جيفولو صبيب. Okay, so ويقام صدى إفرون أشير بمخبلا. So the field is in Machpelah. So what does this word Machpelah mean? Well, one second, please. Can you really let me study it? Yes, very loudly. Please do it outside. I won't go the wrong way. Sorry about that again. Okay, so at any rate, seems to be the name not of the cave, right? It said earlier Ma'arat Machpelah. Where was it? Here. Ma'arat Machpelah, but it doesn't mean the cave of the Machpelah. It means the cave in the region or in the field known as Machpelah. So, but here it says the field, Sadeh Ephron Asher B'Machpelah. So the field of Ephron is in Machpelah. So Machpelah must be a region, an area of Hebron, of Kiryat Arba, right? Asher Lifnei Mamre, which is before Mamre. Okay. Hasadeh ve'hama'ara asher bo. So the field and the cave that's in it, chol eitz, and all the trees, basically. Okay. Well, let's see if we get an explanation for Machpelah. Well, let's just read what Robert Alter has to say. Here, the language of these concluding verses is emphatically legalistic, recapitulating the phraseology that would appear in a contract for the conveyance of property. The verbal stem pana, to buy, which was studiously avoided in the bargaining, finally surfaces in the term for possession. Many interpreters view this whole episode as a final gesture of the aged Abraham toward laying future claim to possession of the land. Mayer Sternberg, on the other hand, reads it as thematically coordinated with the previous episode of the binding of Isaac. First, the promise of seed seems threatened in the command to sacrifice Isaac. Then the promise of the land seems to be mocked in Abraham's need to bargain with the sharp-dealing Hittites for a mere gravesite. Let me just think about this for a second. Okay, I guess it's an interesting comment. All right, right, but we still have an explanation for the word Machpelah. Don't know if Robert Alter gives one. I don't think he does. So some people say it had two levels in it. Machpelah from the word kapal, or double. Well, BDB says it doesn't really give anything. It says from kafal, afod, Machpelah, place in Palestine, from Hebrew kafal, to double over. In modern Hebrew, kaful is double. So that's that. Okay, so at any rate, let's see. I guess we could go for some commentaries. Oh, I don't know. Let's go for a commentary here. One of these modern commentaries, see if they have anything to say. So I think I have to go to... No, that's not what I had to do. I have to go to commentary. And let's go with it. Let's first mention Machpelah. So that's in verse 9. So go to verse 9. Okay, so Ellicott's commentary for English readers says the cave Machpelah, that is the double cave, consisting probably of an outer and an inner compartment, as the land around it is also called the field of Machpelah. Some imagine that it was the valley that was double, but more probably it took its name from the cavern. For a description of the haram, within which the bones of Abraham and Sarah probably still lie, see Palmer Desert of the Exodus, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The longest life must shortly come to a close. Blessed be God that there is a world where sin, death, vanity, and vexation cannot enter. Blessed be his name. Okay, then we get some Christ stuff thrown in there, blah, blah, blah. We'll skip the Christ stuff. Those whom we must love, ye, even our own bodies, which we so care for, must soon become loathsome lumps of clay and be buried out of sight. How loose then should we be to all earthly attachments and adornments? Easier said than done. Let us seek rather that our souls should be adorned with heavenly graces. Abraham rendered honor and respect to the princes of Het, although of the ungodly Canaanites. The religion of the Bible enjoins to pay due respect. Well, I don't think he really gave them respect. He just had a goal in mind. To all in authority, without flattering their persons or countenancing their crimes if they are unworthy characters. And the noble generosity of these Canaanites shames and condemns the closeness, selfishness, and ill humor of many that call themselves Israelites. That's an interesting statement. And the noble generosity of these Canaanites shames and condemns the closeness, selfishness, and ill humor of many that call themselves Israelites. Okay, we have an anti-Semitic commentary here. It was not, unless I'm misunderstanding it, it was not in pride that Abraham refused the gift because he scorned to be beholden to Ephron, but in justice. Can you please close the door? And in prudence, Abraham was able to pay for the field and therefore would not take advantage of Ephron's generosity. Honesty as well as honor forbids us to take advantage of our neighbor's liberality and to impose upon those who give freely. Okay? Alrighty. One for men and another for women. So nobody really knows as usual, but they're all saying it has something to do with double. All right. So let's go back to here. Okay. So verse 18, Avraham. So the field became Avraham's. Avraham limikna to Avraham as a possession. It's making a lot of noise. I know, but can you do it a little bit more softly so I can concentrate here, please? Okay. LaAvraham limikna l'anei b'nei Het l'chon ba'ei sha'ar iro. Okay, so this now became Abraham's possession again. L'anei b'nei Het, in the eyes of all the children of Het, and all the eyes of all the biblical Hittites. L'chon ba'ei sha'ar iro, for all those who came through the gate of his city, right? So all those who came through the gate to the city. Again, he's doing this very much in public. Excuse me for 1 second. I got to put on headphones because there's just too much noise here. One second, please. This will help the situation. Okay, this should be a little bit better. Avraham et Sarah, and afterwards, so now this is his official possession. He paid for it 400 talents of silver, full price. Rejected. He took the full price that Ephron offered or hinted at. He didn't want any discounts. He didn't want it for free. He wanted to buy it. It's his, and he doesn't want any arguments about that whatsoever. Okay, you get what you pay for, and so he wanted to pay full price, so that it's fully his. And this was all done very publicly. This was done in the eyes of the people passing into the city or in and out of the city of Hebron, ostensibly. Verse 19. We harrechen kavar ver ev raham et Sarah ishto el mi orat sde ha-machpelah al pnei memre hi Hebron ba'eretz ki na'an. Okay, and afterwards he buries her, and again it states exactly where it is. He buries Sarah, his wife, into the cave which is in the field of Machpelah again. It is called Ma'arat Machpelah, but it looks like the field, the Ma'arat Sadeh HaMachpelah. So really, maybe the best way to translate this would be the cave that's in the field that's in Machpelah. The area seems to be Machpelah, but we did read one commentary. So the area is called Machpelah because the cave is some kind of double cave, whatever that might mean. Okay. Al Panei Mamre, before or in the vicinity of Mamre, He Havron, Be'eretz Canaan. So we have a full, like, it's almost like a legal statement, right? Right? The cave in the field of Machpelah, which is in the region of, or which is before Mamre, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, right? It's no question that Abraham owns it and where it is. And Mamre is mentioned a bunch of other times. So we have this area Mamre. So Genesis 18. That's when the angels come to him. First mention of Mamre, Genesis 13. So Abraham moved his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. Okay. So Mamre is an area in Hebron, etc. Verse 20, and this is the end of this chapter. Maybe I'll stop here, maybe I'll go a little bit longer. Wayaqam ha sadeh we ha het mi ara asher bo le ev raham la huzat qaver me'it bnei het. And then it basically repeats it. Okay, we have Qam Sadeh. So the field and the cave was established. I should say the field and the cave that is in it was established to Abraham as a holding of a grave holding. Use Robert Alter's translation from the children of faith. So it's mentioned multiple times. It's done in front of witnesses. The exact area where it is, or the exact location is specified. The amount that's paid for it is specified, right? So this is almost like, we could say that this entire chapter is kind of like a deed, right? It's kind of like a deed of purchase of Abraham of the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, or the Ma'arat Machpelah, the cave of Machpelah, the cave in Machpelah, right? And that's Genesis 23. And maybe I'll stop there. I'm not sure. Should I go on? Well, we've got to go to 25:18. That's a long one. And 25:18. All right, we'll go a little longer. A wife for Isaac. Oh, this is a long story, right? We're going to get into a whole thing. Maybe I'll just try to read through it without any commentary. I always say that, and I never can. But we'll try. Okay. Abraham Zakain Ba Bet Yamim What Yahweh Berech It Abraham Bakol. Verse 2. So now Abraham's going to die soon enough. Well, not quite yet. Why Yomer Abraham El Avdo that Zakan Vito Hamoshel Bechol Asher Lo. So it doesn't mention it, but it would seem to imply Eliezer, right? Because of what was said in chapter 15, in Genesis 15, regarding Eliezer, that he would inherit everything if, when Abraham is saying, he's lamenting or complaining, lamenting that he doesn't have a son. Okay, Sim Na Yotcha Tachat Yirahi. So place your hand under my thigh, literally. We've spoken about this a number of times before. That's very possibly euphemism for placing the hand on the private areas. Because if you're going to swear on something, that's the thing to swear on, right? Right? You break the oath and that's what you lose. All right. Nobody wants that. Okay. Ashbi ha biyahweh Elohei ha shomayim wa Elohei ha'aretz asher lo tikach isha livni livnot kina'ani asher anochi yoshev b'kirbo. Right? Don't take any Canaanite wives. He's telling us, or don't find my child Yitzchak a wife among the Canaanites. So remember, we had problems with this before, right? I'm sorry, we didn't have problems with it yet. We will have problems with this, where Esav takes Canaanite wives, and was that before or after? Hold on a second. No, of course it's after. What am I saying? This is only up to Isaac, right? So, but let's just go ahead. Rebecca gets set about the Canaanite wives. But Esav's wives made life miserable for Isaac and Rebecca. So it's Genesis 26. Esav's wives, verse here 26, 34, and 35. Right, so Esav takes two wives. Yehudit bat Be'eriah Hittite, so he takes a Hittite wife, that's a Canaanite, right? And another, so two Hittite wives. Okay, anyway, so verse 5, Wayomer. One second, please. Whoa. Okay, verse 4. Ki el artsi wa el muladti telech we lokach lo isha divni la yishak. So you go back to my birthplace, okay? Well, it's not going to exactly be his birthplace, right? Because Abraham was born in Ur of the Chaldees, and Eliezer, or whoever the servant is going to go back to Haran. So that was kind of the stopover place, right? Verse 5. Wayomer Elau ha Eved Ulai lo tove ha isha lalechet harai el haaretz hazot he Shiv et bincha el haaretz asher yatzata misham. Okay, and if the woman doesn't want to come back, should I take your son there? Yomer Elav Avraham Ishamer lecha pen tashiv et beni shama. Answer: no. Verse 7. Yahweh Elohei ha shamayim asher likachani mibet avi ume'eretz moladti ואשר דיבר לי, ואשר נשבע לי לאמור לזרעך אתן את הארץ הזאת, הוא ישלח מלאכו לפניך, ולקחת אישה לבני משם. Well, this is an interesting statement, actually, right? So he says to him, basically saying, God took me from there. So Eliezer, we'll assume it's Eliezer for a second, asks, do you want me to bring your son back there if the woman doesn't want to go? And he says, basically, it's a really fascinating answer. I'll translate it literally. This is verse 7. Hold on, I have to kill a fly. No, I'm not going to get him in that. So verse 7, Yahweh Elohei Hashemayim, so Yahweh, the God of heavens, Asher likacheni mibeit avi ume'eretz moladati, who took me from the house of my father and from my birthplace. Wa'asher diber li, and who spoke to me. Wa'asher nishba li lemor, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, Lizer'acha eten et ha'aretz hazot, I will give this land, meaning the land of Israel, the land of Canaan, to your seed. Hu yishlach milacho lefanecha, he will send his angel before you. Velakachta isha livnei misham, and you shall take, and you will be able to take a woman for my son from there, right? So basically, the way I see this is Abraham is basically saying, listen, God took me out of that place, okay? So he's going to be strong enough to take, so he's going to take the woman out of this place, right? We're not going to go backwards. My son's not going to go back there. Don't worry. God's going to run the whole thing. God's going to send an angel, and he'll get the woman to come out of there as well. If he's strong enough to take me out of there, then he's certainly strong enough to take sexist, but that's not what I mean by that. What I mean to say is that if the woman is going to marry the man, it's more likely for the woman to come to the man than it is for the man to come to the woman. So it's kind of like a kal v'chomer, to use a rabbinical term, right? He's strong enough to get me out of there. So certainly a woman who is going to come, who generally came to the husband, not the other way around, he should be able to do it. And if he got me out of there, he's certainly also going to get the woman out of there. He already did this, so he's certainly going to do that. He's not going to make our family move backwards. Okay. Verse 8. ואם לא תבא האישה ללכת אחריך וניכית משבועתי זאת רק את בני לא תשב שמה. And if the woman doesn't want to come, no problem, you're free of the swear, but don't bring my son back there. Verse 9. וישם העבד את ידו תחת ירך אברהם אדוניו וישבע lo al davar hazeh. So the servant put his hand under Abraham's thigh and took the oath. Okay. Wayikah ha'eved esra gimalim migmale Adonai yelech b'chol tuv Adonai biyah. And went to Aram Naharaim, which is the region, to the city of Nahor, who is Abraham's brother, is Haran. Verse 11. Yavrech hagimalim מחוץ לעיר אל באר המים לעת ערב לעת צאת השוק אבות. So he made the camels kneel down outside of the city by a well at the time that the water drawing girls came out. לעת ערב, towards the evening. 12. Why Yomer Yahweh Elohei. So he said, Adoni, Avraham, Hakre, Na, Lifonai, Hayom, Wa'ase, Haser, Hayim, Adoni, Avraham. So then the servant says, he prays to God, and he says, let this happen. You can translate in your own word for word. Verse 13. Hine, Anochi, Nitzav, Al, Ain, Hamayim, Uvnot, Anshe, Ha'ir, Yitzot, Hishov, Mayim. So I'm sitting at the well, waiting for the watering girls to come out. Wahaya, Hane, Erah, Asher, Omair, Eleha, Hati, Na, Qadech, Wa, Eshte, Amra, Shte, Waham, Gimalecha, Ashkre, Ota, Ha, Ho, Hachta, Le, Abdechali, Ishaq, Uba, Qeda, Ki, Asita, Hasad, Aim, Adoni. So here's the test. He's going to ask the girls to give him water, and the girl that says, I'll give you water, and I'll also give water to your camels. That's the one. Okay. Wow, this is a long chapter. I don't know. We should go through the whole thing. I'll go a little bit more. Why he who terem kilo lidaber wahine ltzet asher yuda livituel ben milqa ish nahor he Avraham. What do you want? What? You're going somewhere. I don't know what you want. I can't understand this language. 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. He who terem kila lidaber wahine rivka yosset asher yudah lebituel ben milka ish nahor ahi Avraham wi qada al shikhma. So Rivka comes out, her qada, how would you translate that? Pitcher is on her shoulder. وهنقراه طبات مرأة مئود بالطلا وإيش لو يدعى وتريد عينه وتملك قضاء وتعال. So the young lady, of course Rivka we're talking about, was very good looking, and she was a virgin. No man had known her. So now we get a definition for Bitula here. Bitula, no man had known her. Of course, that sheds light on the idea of the let's just find it. Okay. No. Where is that again? Seven 14. Right. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son. Isaiah 7:14. But of course, if we look at the Hebrew there, so here it says the word alma, which is different from the word here, which clearly means virgin. Okay. Here we have the definition of bitula, which means ish lo yada'a, a man never knew her carnally, right? And that's called a bitula. Here in Isaiah 7:14, we have the word alma, which just means young girl, young lady. It does not mean virgin. Talked about many times before. I don't need to get into it now. But basically, there's no prophecy of the virgin birth in Isaiah 7:14. Okay, وَإِيشْ لَوْ يَدَعَ وَتَرِدْ عَيْنَ وَتِمَلَيْ كَذَا وَتَعَالْ. Verse 17. وَيَرَاسْ قَائِبِدْ لِكْرَطَّ وَيَمَرْ هِغْمِعِينِ. And nobody knows what this word means. I think it's only used once in the entire Tanakh, if I remember correctly. It's just used twice, okay? Perhaps swallow liquids, figurative of a horse and swift gallop, blah, blah, blah. Okay. No, I mean, from the context, obviously, you can get the idea of what it means, right? Nami'at mayim mi kadef. Verse 18. وَتُمَرْ شْتَهْ أَدُنِي وَأْتِي مَهَرْ وَإِتُرِدْ. My battery's about to run out. So I think I'm going to end the study after this paragraph. وَتُمَرْ شْتَهْ أَدُنِي وَأْتِي مَهَرْ وَإِتُرِدْ كَذَا عَلْ يَضَا وَتَشْكَهُ. So she is giving him water. And here she passes the test. وَتَخَلْ لِأَشْكُتُ وَتُمَرْ قَمْ لِمَلَيْخَ إِشْعَذْ عَدْ إِم كِلُو إِشْتُت. And then she gives water to the camel. So she's ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner who, okay. So who is she? Right? She is so she was born to Bituel, who's son of Milcah, who's the wife of Nahor. So let's figure this out. So Nahor is Abraham's brother. Nahor's wife is Milcah. Bituel is therefore Abraham's nephew. So that means that Isaac and Bituel are first cousins. And Rivka was born to Bituel. So that means that Rivka is Isaac's first cousin once removed, right? Did we do that right? So Rivka was born to Betuel. Betuel is the son of Nahor. Nahor is the brother of Abraham. So Isaac and Betuel are first cousins. Isaac and Betuel are first cousins, and therefore Rivka is Isaac's first cousin once removed. So there we go. Okay. Just to confirm. What do we got here? Okay, so here's Terach, Nahor, Abram, Isaac, Betuel, Rivka. So that's how they're related. And there's the marriage right there. Okay, so Isaac and Betuel are first cousins. Rivka is first cousin once removed. Okay, so Utimaher, Uta'ar Kada, Al Hashkot, Al Hashoket, ותרץ עוד אל הבאר לשאוב ותשאב לכל גמליו. So she emptied Ta'ar and then she refilled it until all of the camels were watered. Verse 21. He's amazed. Mishta'eh means like here they translate is gazing, but the implication is like gazed in amazement. La maharish, and he's silent. And remained silent to find out if God had really made his journey successful. Well, we got a lot more to go. We've been going at it for about an hour and a half, and I think I'm going to end here. So we'll pick it up next week. And I do like to get through the entire Parsha, but I'm getting a little bit tired. So I'm going to end it here. And I thank everybody for joining me. These numbers never work out correctly, so I know there are a lot more people listening. But so whoever is, thank you. And I'm going to end the broadcast. I'm wishing everybody a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavua Tov, depending on where you are in the world. And we shall see you. Be'ezrat Yahweh. We'll see you next week.